Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how I finished this 36 by 36 mixed media painting, so I'm glad you're joining me today. This video will definitely be a little bit of a longer one. I'm not doing a lot of cuts, so I'm showing you from basically start to finish on how I completed an abstract painting. And I think this is helpful to see that it's never a linear path to completion. There's a lot of times I'm just turning the canvas around, still working on my composition, where I'm painting over something I just liked 10 minutes ago. This painting was hard for me to complete. I haven't done an abstract piece in probably 4 or 5 months. I've been focusing on my expressionism pieces, but I still wanted this one to tie in with my collection that I want to show at a few outdoor art fairs in the summer. So I do add some words at the end that are that kind of deal with my childhood nostalgia and memories, which is a part of my series I'm doing. So yeah, I am happy with the final result, so let me know what you think. So at this point of the painting, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of just painting over shapes. So when I do my second layers, I don't kind of paint within the lines. I try to go over the lines I did in my previous layer. So there's always overlap of color in two different areas, if that makes sense. I'm sure a lot of us artists have these moments where you come up with these great ideas. I was showering yesterday, and of course I thought about doing a wall in my outdoor art fair booth of all framed 12 by 12s. So I'll have one wall of 12 by 12s, and then I'll have my larger pieces. I usually paint in large because I find it easier, but I'm up for the challenge to do a couple minis. And I think it's good for the price point to have different price points. This will be my first major outdoor art fair. I don't really know what sells yet, but I'm assuming that, having small, medium, and large paintings will definitely help out to reach different clientele. So I will be doing a few expressionism pieces after this, so I'll definitely film those and I'll post them, the process. They'll be definitely quicker paintings, so I could probably do a few over the weekend. I want them to be very messy, and they do have subject matter in them, but they obviously are not too anatomy, and I think it would tie in with my collection. So I've mixed up this kind of steel blue, and I'm kind of just going around. I think this painting ends up being a lot of blue at this point, and I'm just going over my first few layers. I do have another video from last week that you can check out, and that shows me doing my first marks and layers, and it's just getting paint on the canvas, and I ended up really liking all these colors that I ended with. I know now that I'm back at the studio, when I came in and it's set, it definitely looks unfinished to me. I know on camera sometimes it can look like, oh, that looks like a great painting, but up close there's nothing to it. There's no depth. So you definitely need to have, 4 or 5 layers on these paintings for it to really stand out. And I think that's literally the biggest trick that professional artists do. It's you don't get stuck liking the first and second layer and leaving it because it hasn't developed enough to be beautiful very, very like far away, and then also very close up. Like it might look great far away, but when you get close, there's nothing to look at. So if you get stuck at the first layer with the painting and you like it, you have to learn to paint over it, and you'll find something better at the end. And I say this all as in what I consider I'm still an emerging artist. So I'm not, a master of painting. I'm just saying kind of what I've learned over the past, 7 or 8 years that I've learned to paint. I am self-taught. My roommate taught me how to paint, and so I started with abstract, and now I'm more into expressionism as well, and we'll see where that goes. At these stages, I just try to create as much different shapes as possible because I find it easier to remove things than to add things later on. So the more different shapes and textures I create now, the more fun I can have on the last 80% of the painting where I can really work on the composition. And I know at this point I'm looking at the canvas and I don't have a composition I like I don't see one. So I'm continually just painting the canvas looking for the inspiration that will pop out with a good composition. I try to continually add in pencil marks, or this is a China marker, between my layers because those help to build texture in each layer. Not everything will show up in the final layer, but it does add interest in the final result. So I work out of a shared studio space in Barrie, Ontario, where I live, and it's awesome. There's, I think, 6 or 7 of us. It's a massive space. We do events called First Fridays that are open to the public, where we have print workshops. This Friday, we are doing an art swap, so anyone can bring in their art supplies that they don't use anymore, and they can swap them with anything that we have in our kind of free swap area. So that will be really interesting and fun. And we're definitely doing a bit of spring cleaning a bit early this year, so we've already cleaned up the back. And I've organized all my paints by color, so I have bins now of warm colors. So I have a bin for bright yellows and reds, and then I have another bin for blues and purples, and then I have a white bin and a black bin. And this is way overdue. Usually my paints are just all over the desk in my area, but to have them in an actual bin sorted by warmth and cool, it just helps me a lot when I'm working. And acrylics dry really quick, but sometimes I want them to dry quicker, so I just use this blow dryer in between layers when I don't want to mix wet on the canvas. I do a lot of scuffling, so I use a really dry brush between layers. and it makes a really cool texture and almost kind of cloudy or translucent and moody. So if you haven't tried it before, dip your brush in water, really dry it very well, and then add a little bit of paint. And you can even rub that paintbrush on your palette or a piece of paper to even dry it out even more, and then put on your layer, and it will be really light and very kind of moody and ghostly. It kind of makes like scratching marks. I love it. It's so cool, especially if you do the first layer really dark, as an example, and then the second layer do really light. So you could do like a really dark navy blue, and then your second layer could be like either like a sky blue, or you could even do like a pink, and just scuffle it on the canvas with a really dry brush, and it makes a really cool texture. And then you can continue with that. So then do another layer in a dark again, and then do a light again. So it's really cool to play with the kind of light and dark, kind of translucent feeling of a painting. So I'm an artist that works a 9 to 5, and it's definitely tiring on the weekend to come into the studio, but I love it. It definitely grounds me. I know when I haven't painted for the week. I'm sure a lot of you are like that too, where you can just like, you feel this like kind of like, not agitation, but maybe like an itch that hasn't been scratched if you don't paint or create. But it's been really fulfilling to dive in this year in 2026 on my YouTube videos and just setting goals for the year, like these 2 outdoor art fairs I'm doing. And it just keeps me feeling alive. It can kind of feel like Groundhog Day when you're working in an office and you have more of a creative mind. But to keep yourself busy with these projects outside of work, it makes it feel like you're not agitated in life, like you're not feeling like you're missing out when you're taking action. And here is a close-up I did of the process, and those are the marks I kind of make. I like scratch into wet paint, as well as using the China marker and pencil crayons or regular pencils. Again, I am trying to figure out a composition, so I just picked up an olive green color I mixed on the palette, and I'm just trying to make some marks that I can use as a map to create the composition. I still don't see anything, so I'm continuing to play and experiment on the canvas until I find something that sticks. And for me, this is a big part of intuitive painting. And as I get older, it's harder for me to do because I'm tired from work, and to be in this state of mind of creating as you go, it can be hard. Now that I'm creating more subjective matter, I when you have a plan, like you've done a sketch and you're going into a painting kind of knowing what you're doing, it's doesn't take as much brain power. But when you're painting intuitively, you're responding to what's on the canvas in the present. So you have to continually be responding to what you're doing and looking for the composition as you're creating the painting, and finding those little sparks of joy that you want to keep. And a lot of the time I use music to kind of get me in the zone. Right now I'm doing like these kind of like swirls with this kind of parchment paper color. And it's probably based because I was listening to a certain song and I was just kind of like in the flow state. I'm just starting to do these swirls to come up with an interesting composition. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think my painting looks anything like this at the end, but you kind of have to go through this process of play and experimenting and building layers to then create something interesting at the end. A lot of the time I'm using the same brush throughout the process, and I'm just cleaning it sometimes or just dipping it into the next color and mixing it a bit. So I find when you're using the same brush, you could get the same marks, so I don't always suggest it, but in the first few layers, I like using a smaller brush on a larger canvas because I have more control on the size of shapes. And you're creating more brush strokes when you use a smaller brush, so I prefer using a smaller brush. A lot of artists increase the size of the brushes as they make larger canvases. But at this point, my painting is looking like a mess. It probably should have been dried in between layers, and this is what can happen if you paint a lot of wet on wet. It can just start looking muddy, and I find a lot of my early stage layers end up looking muddy because I'm just so impatient and I don't switch canvases when I'm in the zone. But I do have another canvas with a painting beside me, but I am very like impatient where I'm like, I need to finish one painting and then I'll move on to the next painting. So I try to do two paintings at once, but a lot of the time when I'm in like this zone of wanting to finish a certain painting, then I don't switch it up. But then this can happen where everything starts looking muddy. So I should have probably stopped here and used the blow dryer and then continued painting once everything was completely dry. I am left-handed, but sometimes I'll switch to my right hand, most likely because my left hand was cramping, but I also do it to create some interesting marks because I don't have as much control with my right hand, so that's always good to go back to left to right. And now I'm just creating circles. Still trying to come up with that composition, probably feeling annoyed. I don't feel anything intuitively yet that's sticking out to me, so I'm just going over this really dull green and just painting these circles. It is so hard to create a good abstract painting, and it's not all sunshine and roses. You don't go on the canvas a lot of the time and create magic. There is a lot of ugly stages in abstract art, and I would say it's probably one of the hardest types of paintings to do, um, because there is no plan. And I'm really feeling it because I haven't painted an abstract in 5 or 6 months. And I'm like, oh my God, did I lose it? When you just start doubting yourself mid painting, you're like, oh God, maybe I'm not meant to be a painter. Or should I even post this because people are going to think that I can't paint? I'm just so impatient these days. I think I'm definitely more on the ADHD side of brains, where I'm just impatient. I switch ideas consistently. I come up with new ideas like on the spot. So I'm trying at this point to stick with the painting and not want to just paint it over white. And here I am picking the most awful color to paint with. This kind of dull gray brown. Again, I'm probably just frustrated and just grabbing whatever on my palette. I guess I'm looking like I'm trying to darken it, but I don't think it looks any better. But I'm trying to create some darker shapes on this canvas so I have more things to work with later on. I really work by just getting the composition down first, and then I can adjust the colors. It doesn't really matter to me what colors I'm putting down as long as I see a composition that I can then work with to adjust. So right now I think I'm trying to get some darker colors down so I can see a little bit more variety on the canvas, because it all looks like light or mid-tone. There's not a lot of darks. So I want to try to create some dark shapes that I can work with to go towards the composition. Now I created this kind of lime green, and I'm trying to create some lines in between the lines I already made to come up with a composition. I tried to move the composition from the middle out to the sides. You don't want anything directly in the middle of your canvas. You want the viewer to kind of move around the canvas. So that's what I think of when I'm trying to come up with a composition, is how can I move this color around on the canvas, and then I'll switch the color and be like, how can I move this color around the canvas? Still working on trying to nail the composition before moving forward, and I know at this point I don't know what the hell's happening, so I'm just kind of going with the flow. And I know that something will come up eventually, so I try not to feel too discouraged at this point. I just keep going until it feels right. So I'm looking to frame all my paintings for a show. I've never sold my paintings framed, but I always like when you go to a booth or a gallery and you see the framed work, it just makes it look like $1,000,000. So I am planning on getting some wooden frames, some floating frames, and them being all the same color, or sorry, same, I guess, finish. And there is also a company, I think Colbine. They sell aluminum frames that are light, but they have like a wood finish, and they look really good. So they do have like an artist discount program where if you buy a certain amount, you do get like 20% off, and they're not crazy expensive. I obviously don't get sponsored by them, but I'm just telling you that's what I'm thinking. And there's even some on Amazon, some floating frames. So even for the 12 by 12 wall I want to do, might be good to just get some off Amazon, or if there's anyone locally that's cheaper. So that's my plan for frames. All my paintings still need to be sealed and then varnished. So for my mixed media pieces, because I use a lot of water soluble crayons and pencils, you have to spray it with a finish that will keep those marks permanent. So it's called a fixative, and I usually get one called a workable fixative. So that means that you can spray it and fix the marks that you're working on between layers if you want, and continue to paint over those marks. I like that just in case I'm not happy with my painting. I can always go over it again with more layers. I don't have a workspace that's ventilated, so if it means I wanted to fix my marks between layers, I would have to go outside, spray it, wait for the odor, the fumes to leave, and then bring it back inside. So I just fix my canvas with the marks at the end. Most of the marks do stay between layers, like the pencil, you can see stuff like that. Charcoal, pastel, like soft pastels are the ones that kind of disappear really quick. So you can always use a gloss medium gel between the fixative to keep a bit of those marks, and it creates a cool kind of smear from the charcoal and the soft pastels. So that's always an option. And as you can see, I just flipped my canvas. This is a telltale sign I have no idea what I'm doing. I do this all the time with abstract pieces, because a lot of the times when I create similar shapes, textures, and composition in a certain direction, and I find when I turn the canvas, I see things I wouldn't usually see that I find more interesting, because I usually don't do it that way. So now I flipped the canvas and I saw these two big blocks, and I'm like, oh, let's paint them, I guess it's like kind of light magenta color. And this is again just to try to create a different composition. There is a lot of small detailed items in my painting right now, so it's always good to block out larger shapes. And yes, it just looks absolutely awful at this point, and I'm really doubting my artistic ability. I'm starting to focus on creating larger shapes to balance all the small shapes I've done previously and create a composition that moves across the canvas. I've always done it as just kind of worry about the composition first, and then you can always color correct later. So I'm just grabbing whatever colors I have on my palette, and yeah, they can look muddy and not the most flattering colors, but as long as I'm kind of focusing on the composition and creating layers, I then can I can then balance the colors later on. So after I'm done this painting, I also have a 24 by 24 I have to finish. That will probably be abstract again. And then I'll be doing some expressionism pieces, kind of like a wall of 6 paintings, um, or maybe 9 paintings that I could do a wall in my booth as. And yeah, I want to focus on more childhood nostalgia. The whole collection is about childhood nostalgia, so just trying to piece together memories of my childhood and past relationships. So it looks like I'm trying to map out some sort of background. I see that there's a lot happening, so I'm just taking probably an off-white off my palette, and I'm just kind of removing some of the shapes that I created, the small shapes. I find it easier to remove than to add, so I added a lot of stuff, and now I'm just removing it and creating larger shapes while covering the smaller shapes. So I'm a self-taught painter. I never really got into art until I was in my mid-20s, and I am kind of jealous I didn't have the opportunity to go to art school and kind of have that experience to take some education based in the arts. I want to take a drawing class so I can get better at drawing, so then I can bring that into my expressionism paintings later on. But I also don't want to lose that childhood drawing that I do that is so like unproportioned that it brings me back to my childhood. So it would be a fine balance. My roommate actually 10 years ago taught me, and she was an abstract landscape painter. So we just had one night where she said, "Oh, we should paint." And I said, "No, no, no. I'm not a painter at all. Like, I don't even know what to do." And she's like, "Just try it." So we went and got some art supplies, and I ended up painting a tree, and I rolled up paper, like paper mache, and I created like this tree from paper mache. It was a really cool painting, and I still have it. So I'll have to post it sometime and show everyone. But that really honestly got me addicted to painting. And I think we painted every night after that. So now I'm adding some, like a brighter cyan color. I'm seeing that the painting is very muddled, so I'm like, okay, let's try to bring in some color. So I added this color, and just trying to map out a bit of blank space on the canvas. I always try to leave room to breathe within the composition. So if I know I have too many marks and too many shapes, I try to paint over them and create some sort of place where the viewer can kind of rest their eye before moving on to the next part of the composition. I wanted to leave this video mostly unedited just to show people how much push and pull some abstract paintings can have, and how there's a lot of ugly stages to them, and there's a lot of confusion and not really knowing what to do next. But if you have the confidence to continue, bit by bit, you will see a composition starting to emerge. The only advice I could give for this is to just keep going. You're going to hate a lot of the painting, and you just have to keep painting over it and keep adjusting it. You start with one little adjustment and you go from there, and you could do it by shapes, or you could do it by colors, or you could do it by textures. So I do a lot of like adjusting with shapes. So if I fix a shape on the left side of the canvas, then I'm going to adjust the shape on the right side so it balances out. If I have a lot of small shapes, I'm going to try to balance it out with some large shapes. You can also do it with colors. So if you adjust the color on the left side of the canvas, then you can make it bounce across the canvas at different parts of the composition. So if you're adjusting on the left, then see where you can bounce that to the right of the canvas, or maybe slightly off the middle. So if you do that with every color, you'll see how the eye can move around the canvas. And color adjusting is probably one of the most important parts of abstract painting, because you don't want everything to be so bright that no color stands out on its own. But if you have more dull colors, which you can basically dull with like a brown or say a little bit of black, then when you put a bright color beside them, then it really stands out. But it's the same for if you have all dull colors, then nothing's standing out. So you want to balance between the bright and the dull. So I'm going to a little art residency in June, and it is in Muskoka, which is cottage country in Ontario. And that will be happening in early summer. And this will be the first time I've been to an art residency, and I'm super excited because it's in a beautiful spot in nature, and we have access to the water, so you can go kayaking or canoeing. I'll bring my paddleboard, and I do have like a pump, like an electric pump for my paddleboard now, so I'm excited to use that. And I'm gonna bring like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 canvases of different sizes, and I'll probably do my canvas prep before I go. So I add like heavy gesso and modeling paste, so then I don't have to wait for it to dry. And I'm just gonna bring an easel and I'll paint outside, or I'm allowed to paint in the living room as well, and I'll just put like a tarp down just in case I get messy. And yeah, there'll be 6 other artists there. some writers, and I think musicians, and just spending the week creating and spending time in the sun. My goal is to get as many paintings done for the 2 shows I have in July. One is in Toronto and one is in Bracebridge, which is, they're both about an hour and a half from where I live, each direction. And yeah, I want to have as many as I can done, and I do want to get them framed so they're all cohesive. And I'm not cheaping out on my prices this year. I've always, I feel like, undervalued my art. So I'm basically going to be doubling, if not tripling, my prices I've done in the past. I'm really taking it serious this year, and my goal would be to sell $10,000 worth of art this summer. So that's only going to be 10 $1,000 paintings, which to me, I'm selling my 36 by 36s about around $1,000, if not a bit more. And yeah, so a mix of selling a few of those and a few small ones. I don't think that is unreasonable. Let me know in the comments how you sell your paintings. I'm doing mine by square foot, but if you have any other suggestions, let me know. I was always taught that you should move your way up slowly with pricing. There's a lot of newer painters than me who are selling their painting for like 4 times what I sell mine for, and I guess that might just be confidence, which I'm happy for them. But I always learned that you should sell at a certain price, and once you sell a certain amount of those, then you move up, $50 or $100, and then you've gone too high when you sell less, like the demand isn't there. But I've been doing mine in such small increments that I feel confident I can sell them for the prices I want now. But I wouldn't say that 4 or 5 years ago if I was selling them what I plan on selling them today. I'm also older now, so I'm finding it's a lot more tiring to complete paintings. Even though I obviously love it, I feel the energy exchange of me creating. So I know the value needs to increase because it doesn't match what I'm selling for them, what I was selling them for in the past. I don't know. I still think with the rise of AI, artists, this is for painters, I'm saying, fine artists are scared that it's going to be harder for them to sell their work. But I still think human work is obviously superior to what people can create with AI. And the human connection between the artist and the client or the buyer is what sells the work. It's sharing human experiences together that is related through the painting, like an energy exchange. So I'm not concerned about not being able to sell with the rise of AI. I think the art fairs are going to be even bigger because it's like what being human is. Like, I'm going to go to an art fair to see other artists because humans make things and make amazing things. What do you guys think of the rise of AI? Do you think it's going to hurt artists, or do you think there's a certain group of artists that will be hurt more than others? Let me know in the comments what you think about this, because I think that like illustrators and animators, Writers, I think they are in a bigger trouble than painters, but let me know what you think. So back to this painting, I still don't know what I'm doing. I am starting to add like a really thick kind of off-white paint to kind of like carve out a composition that I can use. I like kind of working from the middle and kind of creating a what I call kind of a like firework effect where you start in the middle and you're kind of like splattering, I would say, a firework on your canvas. So there's going to be different lines and shapes kind of scattered from the middle, kind of like when you're watching a firework show. It looks like there is something coming out of this composition though, so I think I'm getting excited that I'm kind of seeing something evolving. There's a lot of aha moments in abstract art where once you see it, then you can run on it and then you get excited and you're like, okay, keep going, keep going. So this is the moment where I know I'm painting a bit quicker and it just feels like you're in the flow state and you're just going back and forth around the canvas. But I will be quiet now and I'll just take the next 5 or 6 minutes to just let you enjoy the process, and then I'll come back to more so the ending where I can talk about how I reached to this end result. So enjoy. So right here, I think I forgot to film, but I end up adding some bright red and some magenta and some blue because the painting dried in between layers and I saw how muddled it was, and I just needed to play with some color so I can kind of figure out what I'm doing with this composition. And I'm flipping my canvas again, and I think I'm going to start working on brightening up the background and start making all the shapes stand out kind of above the background. I'm adding more of these peachy kind of tanned colors to the composition and adding kind of these half moon shapes, which I do a lot, and just continuing on where I left off with those red marks and just adding a little more of that firework kind of composition I was talking about. So here is when I'm starting to really lighten up the background, so then I can focus on the shapes in the foreground. Sometimes there's just too many colors in the background going on, and I just need to add one singularity color. And I do this, not perfectly, so I can see the layers underneath, and the lightness and darkness of this background is slightly different because I'm continually mixing up the paint as I'm going across the canvas. So the composition looks a lot better now that I started using a little bit of light blue on the background, just so it can actually break up some of those shapes. So when I wasn't filming, I added more of the red, and I added this woody water soluble crayon. They're called Witties, I'm pretty sure. And I used yellow, and I scraped some of the the yellow onto the canvas, and I was doing these kind of like M-shaped marks just to add a little bit of interest. And now I'm just painting over some of them to more of the background with that kind of mauve color, which is pretty watered down with some water and some heavy gel medium. So it was creating some drips, and I liked the drips, so I just left them. This is my favorite part of painting, when I can start using more of my mixed media materials. So I think I'm using either a Neo Color crayon or one of my Sakura markers, and I'm just brightening up some parts of my composition. I like using like pure white as the lightest, and I'm using black as the darkest. I like using black and white on my canvases. And then I'm using this Sakura marker. That's like this neon pink. I love it. So it really adds a pop to this painting. As you see, I'm taking the kind of muddled dark colors and I'm keeping a lot of them, but I'm also adding in super bright as the opposites at different parts of the canvas. And I just look back, so I saw the marks I did, looked back on the canvas, and I could even tell before I even did this that I would go back, look at it, and then on the right hand side, balance off that top with more neon pink. but sometimes you don't even have to balance it with the same color. You could just do the same brightness of the color. So if the neon pink was at the top, I could do like a cool neon green on the bottom and it would still work because the same value of color is being presented across the canvas. I'm now adding this black marker to, I think, just a few spots of the canvas to add a really dark value to the canvas. And it's always more of a pop if you're putting a dark color beside a light color. So I put the dark right beside that white line, and the difference in values just makes it pop and stand out that much more. I was just adding some lavender purple, and now I'm adding kind of this off-white, kind of yellowy pastel color. And I like outlining my canvases. So sometimes I do black, sometimes I do brown. I don't know if I ended up using this color. I think I did. So I think I just took some dark magenta and put it around the canvas, kind of to tie in with the red bits in the middle. I always turn around the canvas just in case I do like it the other way, but I went back to the original way I had it because I much prefer it this way. And here is just a close-up of what I have. I wanted to show you all the different textures and shapes I created with those marks and all the different layers. All those different times I was telling you that I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't like these colors, they all show up at the end just in little bits and pieces, and that's what makes it feel so more alive, the canvas. I ended up getting rid of the red magenta border and I added this kind of the navy blue basically around, which ties more into the corner. So I do prefer this a lot more. And now I'm just taking like a pencil or I think a China marker and just making little marks. I don't like when even empty space doesn't have anything in it. I wanted to make it look like it's been used or weathered or just, yeah, create more interesting shapes and lines for someone who's looking at the canvas very closely. So if you haven't seen my past part of my nostalgia collection, I do add words in it that are memories or phrases that deal with childhood nostalgia. So I am adding the words on this canvas. I miss you, like ice cream shops miss the summer. I don't know how I came up with this, but I thought it was like a cute, funny saying. So I decided to add it to this canvas because it does remind me of, like, I don't know, ice cream in the summer, all the bright colors, and looks like different scoops of ice cream. And this is a memory. This is about when I lived in Vancouver and my partner there. Our first date was going to an ice cream shop at the harbour. So I still remember that. And Facebook is really good at showing me those memories. So I thought, yeah, I think this would be a perfect saying for this painting and ties into my nostalgia collection that hopefully others can relate to. And here is the final painting. I did ended up adding some stars on the top to kind of balance out a bit of the composition with the words. And I'm just showing you all the different shapes and textures that I've created. There was a lot of hard times with this painting, but the end result made it all worth it. I really love it. I love the personality in it. I love how personable it is, and it brings me back to that great memory I had. Let me know what you think of this, and definitely subscribe. I release a video every Saturday, so definitely check out my next videos. I'll be showing you everything I'm working on in the next week.